I'm standing in my wedding dress, the church buzzing with guests, when I spot him at the entrancient old man in a threadbare suit, the same guy I've been leaving breakfast for every morning for years. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Did she really invite the homeless guy? And I can feel the judgment in their stares, but before I can even think, I'm running across the foyer, my gown trailing, wrapping him in a hug. Then, out of nowhere, the church doors swing open, and 12 Marines in crisp dress blues march in, line up, and salute me in perfect unison, like something out of a movie. Hey, I'm Emma Carter, and this is the story of how a simple act of kindness turned my wedding day into something I'll never forget. If you've ever been judged for doing what's right, stick around, this one's for you. 6 years ago, I started working as head pastry chef at Morning Glow Bakery in Oceanside, California. I'd get there at 4:30 a.m., kneading dough, pulling croissants from the oven, the smell of cinnamon and butter filling the air. But my favorite part of the day wasn't the baking, it was what came after. Every morning, after the first batch was done, I'd wrap a warm pastry, pour a coffee, and slip out the back to leave them on a bench by the bus stop, along with a little note. Hope this brightens your day. The guy who got it was always the simian older man with gray hair and a worn coat, sitting quietly, never begging, never bothering anyone. I didn't know his name, and he didn't know mine. We'd just nod, maybe catch each other's eyes, and that was it. My coworkers thought I was nuts. You're throwing away product, one would mutter. He's going to start expecting it. Another warned, like I was feeding a stray cat. 3 months before my wedding, the bakery got a new manager, Greg, who pulled me aside during my review. Emma, your charity thing is sweet, he said, choosing his words like he was defusing a bomb. But some customers feel uneasy seeing that guy out there. Maybe donate to a shelter instead. I smiled, nodded, and kept doing it anyway, just started coming in 15 minutes earlier to beat the morning crowd. I thought I was sneaky until a new hire, Jenna, caught me slipping back inside one day. She's been feeding that bum for years, she stage whispered to a customer, loud enough for me to hear. The customer shook her head, pity dripping from her voice. Poor girl, thinks she's saving the world. I kept rolling dough, pretending it didn't sting, but it did not because I cared about their opinions, but because they couldn't see what I saw. A person, not a problem. My fiancé, Lucas, a paramedic, got it. He'd seen enough pain on the job to know what it means to show up for someone who's invisible to everyone else. You're too soft, Em. My mom would tease, shaking her head when I told her Lucas and I were getting married. Always giving away what you've got. But Lucas and I, we had this shared belief. Kindness isn't about getting a pat on the back, it's about seeing the people everyone else walks past. If you've ever felt like the world misjudged your heart, you know what I mean. I never talked to the old man, not really. Just nods, maybe a smile. But one rainy morning last winter, he was shivering on that bench, his coat soaked through. I left my scarf with the usual coffee and pastry. The next day, I found a note on the napkin, written in shaky pencil. Thank you for seeing me as a person. I kept that note in my purse, pulling it out when the world felt too cold. When Lucas and I planned our wedding, I invited everyone from the bakery cooks, cashiers, even Greg, who probably thought I was too soft too. 2 days before the big day, a letter showed up at the venue, addressed to the bride, Emma Carter. Inside was a card, no signature, just neat handwriting. Tomorrow, I come not for cake, but to honor a debt. I figured it was from one of Lucas's paramedic buddies, but something about the writing felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Wedding day came, and I was a mess of nerves and excitement, fussing with my veil in the church's back room. Through the window, I saw guests arriving, family, friends, co-workers in their Sunday best. Then I saw him at the entrance, the man from the bench, in a suit so old it was practically falling apart, but pressed and clean, his shoes shined, his hair combed. The whispers started immediately. Who let him in? Is he here for handouts? My heart sank, not for me, but for him, standing there with such quiet dignity while people judged. I didn't think twice, hiked up my dress, ignored the wedding planner yelling about the schedule, and ran to him. When I hugged him, I whispered, I remember the first time I saw you, back in 2018. His face lit up, and in a voice stronger than I expected, he said, and I remember every morning you treated me like I mattered. My planner, Sarah, rushed over, looking frazzled. Emma, The ceremony's starting. How's this? Before I could answer, tires screeched outside, and the church doors flew open. 12 Marines in dress blues marched in, their boots echoing like a drum roll. The room went dead silent. Someone dropped a glass, the crash ringing out. A captain, name tag reading Ramirez, stepped forward, snapped to attention, and saluted me. On behalf of Bravo Company, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, he said, his voice cutting through the hush. We're here to honor the woman who sustained a hero for 6 years. I froze, my hand still on the old man's arm. The captain turned to him. This is Sergeant Henry Walsh, who saved 9 lives in Fallujah, 2004. Gasps rippled through the crowd. After losing his family in a car crash in 2016, Ramirez continued. He walked away from everything, never claiming his benefits, never telling anyone who he was. Another Marine handed me a shadow box with a silver star and a faded photo of a young Henry carrying a wounded soldier. Ramirez, I realized, through a war-torn street. He carried me 4 blocks under fire, Ramirez said, his voice catching, and went back for 8 more, wounded himself. If not for you, MS Carter, he might not be here today. Tears ruined my makeup as I looked at Henry. I had no idea, I whispered. He smiled, soft but steady. That was the point. After my wife and son died, I couldn't stand being called a hero when I couldn't save them. But you never asked my name, never demanded my story. Your coffee, your notes, they gave me a reason to keep going. The Marines formed an honor guard, stretching from the doors to the altar. Ramirez faced the crowd, his eyes landing on the whisperers. MS Carter didn't know she was feeding a decorated Marine. She just saw a man who needed help, day after day, no questions asked. In the Corps, we say no Marine left behind. She lived that better than most. One of my co-workers, Mia, stepped forward, tears streaming. I work with Emma, she said, voice shaking. She paid for those pastries herself, baked extra every day, never said a word. We made fun of her for it. Another guest stood, voice thick. This isn't just a wedding, it's an honor ceremony. Henry took my hands. I came to give you my only gift, my truth, my gratitude. I overheard you talking about your wedding at the bakery, so I reached out to some old friends. I laughed through tears. Best wedding gift ever. Lucas, who'd been watching in awe, walked over and shook Henry's hand. Sir, would you walk Emma down the aisle? After the honeymoon, Lucas and I didn't go back to our old routines. We used our wedding cash to start the Quiet Table, a breakfast program for homeless veterans. No fanfare, just a carved sign. Every meal feeds a life. Henry didn't come by, but postcards started arriving. Florida, Texas, Montana, each with the same line. Every breakfast is a salute. Thank you, Emma. Ramirez told us Henry was finally using his VA benefits, getting counseling, finding a home. On our first anniversary, the 12 Marines showed up at the Quiet Table, in civvies this time, each holding a single flower. We'll take shifts volunteering, Ramirez said. This mission doesn't end. The Quiet Table grew. Veterans across Oceanside knew it as a place to eat without judgment, no need to explain. I framed Henry's note above the counter. Thank you for seeing me as a person. Below it, I added, every story at this table matters. When a news crew came sniffing, I turned them away. Talk to the veterans, I said. This isn't about me. On tough days, when supplies ran low or volunteers flaked, I'd think of those Marines saluting, and it was enough to keep going. Lucas got it too. I married you, he said one night as we locked up, and got a whole squad of Marines and a family of veterans. I smiled. The best kind of family, the one you choose. So, here's my question. Was I naive for helping Henry without knowing his story, or was that the point? Have you ever been judged for a kindness no one understood? Drop a comment. Tell me your take. What's it mean to see the invisible people around us? And if this story hit you, hit subscribe. You've got more real-life moments that'll make you think twice about who's sitting on that bench.